to this set of slides. And so if it's, hopefully if there's anything useful to you or content-wise that might be useful to you, you can get, you have access to that as well. I've labored over the title of what this session would be. The CS Awesome and Runestone is what I came up with. There's two languages that people use Runestone for. One is Java and one is Python. And everything that we're going to be doing, almost all of what we're going to be doing relates to both courses or both languages. Going to focus on the CS Awesome and the Java side of things. If any of you happen to be teaching Python and want to talk about that, well, hopefully we can do that a little bit either later or after the session if you'd like. So this is our agenda. We're going to look at setting up a CS Awesome course. Could you give me a thumbs up? Do you have class lists yet? Do you know what students are going to be in there? Oh, good. At least I got a few of those. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to register in a course that I created. The reason I want you to do that is that I want to give you the assignments that CS Awesome created for you as an instructor so that you could copy those to your own courses and then reuse those. So I'll go through that with you in some extent. I don't know if any of you have had your school systems discuss with you the topic of PII. One of my real concerns is that we have kids going online like mad to all these places all over registering for accounts, and who knows what information they're giving to whom. And so I want to give you a strategy for allowing your students to participate in Runestone securely. I just want to highlight a couple of the CS Awesome resources that are available, and then look at the instructor tools. So specifically, once I get you into the first course and then change your status there to an instructor, let you look at some of those instructor tools as well. And then take a quick tour of some other things that are available in Runestone, some of which, by the way, I didn't know about at the beginning of the summer when I was first working with this. And some of which I've become a huge fan of and think will be really valuable to teachers generally. And then the last thing will be a plan for the fall. On the right-hand side of this slide, I put my name at the bottom corner, three big names in the middle on the right side. Brad Miller is the founder of Runestone. Now, all these courses that exist on Runestone and all that's being carried out there was carried out because of what he got started there working at, I think it's Luther College. Barb Erickson was a member of the development committee for the College Board in developing the AP-CSA course. She's a huge influence in the computer science education community. And she developed the course for the AP-CSA review that grew into the curriculum that Beryl Hoffman developed as CS Awesome. Those three names are really people worth knowing. So let's talk a little bit about setting up the CS Awesome course and self-registering. Is there anyone that has not, doesn't have a Runestone account yet? Here? Okay, I don't hear anybody, I don't see anything. So, all right, so then what I'm going to want you to do is to register for this course name that I created. The course is MCCE_CS Awesome. Now, if you remember in Runestone how to do that, you go to your instructor tools and change course and go over to create a course. I'm sorry, I did not mean that yet. Forgive me. I'm going to go back. Go down to enroll in a course. And that's where you paste in that MCCE_CS Awesome. The capitalization all matters. Course names in Runestone all have to, or can't have any spaces in them. And then when you apply those changes, you'll see that the MCCE CS Awesome has been added to your list of courses. Okay. So while I'm waiting just a second before I go any further, I just built in a pause here. I was going to ask you, I went back in time. I went back in time to 2014. And these are some internet stats. And the things have changed even since then. Back then, we thought these numbers were amazing. Well, the actual live stats, I'm hoping you can see now. Can you see these live stats going by? Yeah. Right. I just find it absolutely, in fact, I was entertained, I get entertained easily, but I was entertained. I was looking at the Google searches today. When I was looking a couple hours ago, I had pulled this up and was just trying to make sure things were where I thought they were. And at that time, we were about to roll over to 4 billion searches today. So I think before we finish here, we'll get to the 5 billion searches in the day. It's kind of a fun thing for me to think just about how much this has grown in such a short time, where what 4.6 billion internet users in the world, and just how amazingly powerful all of that is. Well, I'm going to let that thing run for a while and come back over to my presentation, but I was also just hoping to take a minute so that we could hopefully get there and get to that Runestone registration. When you registered for Runestone, they ask you to put your username, your first name, your last name, and your email address. That information is all part of PII. It's all governed by federal and state regulations. And the people at Runestone, Brad Miller in particular, works very hard to make sure that he lives up to that standard and they don't sell any of this information, that they properly safeguard it, that they use appropriate cybersecurity measures to do that. Well, in my school system, a lot of the decisions are made by what the lawyers tell us we can do. And what's happened to Brad Miller over time is school districts have begun to say to him, you have to send us a legal document where you prove that you have established all these appropriate standards for the security. And while he says he's willing to do that, it takes quite a number of hours. It's expensive work. He has to hire his own lawyers to do it. Since our school systems pretty much do not have those kinds of agreements, I think it's especially important that we know how we can register our kids in this and not give away any of this information. So in order to do that, you're going to need to create a course. And when you go to create a course, you're going to go into your Runestone, you're going to click the avatar. I've wondered what to actually call this little person-shaped thing. But if you click the little avatar and you'll get the menu, if you hit the change course, that will give you the option to create a course. And when you create your course, the big thing you have to do is first give it a name. And I came up with this myself, by the way, the STYS. I suggest you use something that from the school, the teacher, the year, and the section. You want this to be short with no spaces. And you want a different one of these for every section that you're going to use Runestone with. So you make up whatever name that you like, that you think meets those criteria. Give it a brief description, specify your institution and your course level. And if you do those things, you can click the button to actually create your course, and your section course will be added to the materials in Runestone. Oops, I jumped ahead.
Now, will we use MCCE for the institution, or should we use Charles County?
You should use Charles County or whatever your school district, or either your school or your school district. I came up with this very catchy name of mine, of the LPHS for La Plata High School CSA 2020-2021. I was all excited. I was actually planning on using that. And then at school, when I just got my schedule, they said, no, they wouldn't let me have more than 4 preps. And so they were being nice to me. They didn't want me to have 5 preps. I wanted it. I wanted to teach the CSA course. But in any case, something of that nature is what you want with the name. And hopefully that appears in your course selection list also. So hopefully you have 2 things in this course selection: the MCCE CS Awesome and the whichever section, whichever class that you made for yourself. I'm going to go into the CS Awesome one, the MCCE one, and then go in and manage the, we're going as the instructor, and promote you all to the instructor status. Yes, I hope I can do this. So let's see.
So to create a course, we go into change course and then enroll in a course.
To create a course, back that up. Okay, to create a course, you go into change course, and you'll get this list of courses that you already have in Runestone.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of that page, you should have the little Runestone icon and the option to create a course.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what you click. That'll take you to where you can put in this information.
Should we make a practice one or the one we're going to use for our class?
I think making a practice one is prudent. I have made and deleted several. All right, so let me come back over here. All I'm doing to add you as instructors is selecting you, and did I miss anybody? Bill, I didn't get you. Are you still there?
I'm still here, but I can't seem to be able to create the course. I've tried several times. So if you don't want to wait for me, just keep going. So I'm going to change the course, but I don't see that little icon you were saying. So I'm going back.
Hand side, it's no longer up at the right where you're. Once you click on change course.
Okay, I'm going to change. I'm doing that now. Change course.
And then.
Oh, I see it. Way up top. Create a course.
Yeah, pan over to the left.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Joe, when we create this course, we choose the CS Awesome ready-made books. It gives you a whole list of.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. CS Awesome AP CS Java course.
Yes, you want to choose the CS Awesome AP Java course.
Got it.
No math book.
unless you're teaching a math class.
Yeah.
However, all that list of courses, um, I have a capstone course I'm teaching for students who have already finished the APCSA, and we're going to be using Runestone for that. And so these other books are really, really useful as well.
You should be able to see me now, Joe. This is Bill.
Oh, great.
Should you enable experimental pair programming features?
I'm not going to say no,
But the other two,
but the other two I think are yeses.
do you need a term start date?
Yes, and if it's a practice thing, I would make that term start date today. But when you make them live, you want the term start date to be your actual first day of class.
Okay.
Can you change the term start date once you create it?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll just delete it and do it over because I don't know that I did. I don't think I said that. Joe, I have some old courses from last year.
Uh-huh.
Is there a way to sort of archive those, or is that just,
Okay, on my screen, do you see there's a drop a course?
uh-huh,
You can click that and then just click on whatever course you want to drop.
okay.
Is
Now, when we drop a course, we have a whole bunch of students registered in those courses. Those students have their own individual accounts with Runestone, so their work doesn't go away. You mentioned archiving, and that would be one of the things I would not want to have happen is have that work go away. And it doesn't. If they log into Runestone, they will, they're not deleted. They're moved to the base book that your course is based on. So like if a student went into Runestone and registered to do the CS Awesome book, they wouldn't get you as a teacher, you wouldn't see them, and you wouldn't have any kind of teacher tools to help them. But they would still have all access to all the lessons and activities. And so you can just drop them. In fact, before today's session, I went through and dropped a few of them for that same reason. All right, so let me try to get back over to here and see if I can.
now, will we get a link to share with our students when they want to join our class that we create?
What I'm going to suggest to you is that yes, the answer to that is yes, but you will want to register them yourself, and that's one of the things I wanted to show you.
And do they need an active email account, a real one?
It is not if you use the, I'm sorry, not if you use the system to protect the PII that I want to tell you about. If they make up a bogus email account, Runestone will let them create, at least like they used to, they'll let them create their account. But when they forget their password and they go to reset their password, they won't be able to get back into their account.
Right.
Still not seeing you there.
You still looking for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see it on my screen. I have I just called it Liganor, and I think I went through the right process. I don't know why you don't see me.
Okay, I think I know why it is. Let me just mention it to you and then we'll just go on and we can come back to later if we need to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, is if you enroll in a class and enroll in this MCCE_CS Awesome,
Right.
that's the one that puts you in that list.
Okay, I got you. All right.
Okay.
So I got to figure out how to modify that. Keep going. I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, so how do we register students in that class that you just created? And I say that class that you just created, inside of Runestone, you're going to have a bunch of classes, and you want to make sure that you always are using the class that you think you're, or that you mean to be using. So just check that, make sure that you're actually in your class when you go to register students. I'm going to register students the way I want to show you how to do this. And so the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to take advantage of this CSV file. Well, what CSV file? I made one for us. And I'm hoping when I click on that, you all can still see that. Can you see that CSV file?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You can make these in any spreadsheet tool that you're comfortable with. It just has to have 6 columns. The first and last name are C and D. The password, you get to make that up. I have a little program that makes up passwords for me, so I made up their passwords. It's real important that you put your class name in that last column, the class that you just created. This first column is really what I do is I take and concatenate the first and last name columns here, and then add to it my organization name. I want this to be something short. This is the reference the kids will use when they go to access your class. So you want this to be something that's short. You also want to make sure it has no spaces in it because Runestone doesn't like that in that field either. So what I then do is I just go to File and I'm going to download that as a CSV. And I'm going to ask, can you all see that file Explorer that just opened? You can't see that? Okay. Okay, but you can see that the name of the MCCE CS Awesome CSV file name,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to go to when I go back into my Runestone and click Choose File. I'm going to go find that CSV file that I just downloaded and register the students. So now when I go back over and manage students, I find that all my students are right there.
Wow.
Now I'm seeing like the F1, L1, we'd actually have the data in there. We wouldn't have.
Okay, I would suggest that you have something like the F1 and the L1. And one of the major advantages of doing what we're doing right now is Runestone doesn't know who these students are. You at the school system, they don't have to worry that Runestone is not securing the PII properly because we're not giving them any PII, nothing that uniquely identifies that student. What I would also suggest is, though, that after I have that done, is that I go back into this spreadsheet and I put their actual first and last names and their actual email address in the spreadsheet. They can't be there when I go to import the students, but I want them there as a teacher, because when the student goes to log in and they can't remember their password and they hit the password reset, the email will be sent, the email is going to be sent to this address. Well, I've configured this address in such a way that I will get to see what that message is, but then I need to email the student and tell the student what I set their password to, because we're going to have to take on that responsibility of managing that resetting of the passwords. Brad Miller said, please don't depend on him to get the password resets for the now tens of thousands of students.
Wow.
Said he just won't get to it. And so for us to be able to manage that, and the tool is register them with this kind of a CSV file, and then you record over here the actual information. Okay. Now, what one is I'm hoping that that makes sense, what that process, that it seemed relatively simple as far as getting your kids registered into there. As I watched Brad do it a couple times on video, and it seemed simple, and then I had to go try it a few times, and it took me 3 or 4 tries before I got it all right. And I say getting it all right. There's one piece I mentioned to you, but I really want to point out to you to make this all work. It seems like a little thing, but I made up this sample with 5 students in it. The reason that becomes important is while you're learning and getting all this right, you're going to probably screw it up a few times, and you'll end up with some things you want to get rid of. Well, you can get rid of them. I can just go in here and get rid of them, and it will handle one at a time. Okay. It's still working on that. It hasn't finished doing that one person. But if I had registered, say, 50 students in this class, I did that. I had 50 students in this class, and it took me about 45 minutes to delete them all. So until you're sure you've got this algorithm down, you want to practice with a small enough group that it's no big deal if you have to go through and get rid of them.
So Joe, once you do this process and you get your students on the list, then they can log in and they'll have the class already added in their main menu. They don't have to go through and add the course.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's nice, because that was a confusing step for last year, because I used it last year. So
yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Diane, because it's my experience with this is doing this when I'm standing in the room with the kids and I can walk over and point out to them what they did wrong. And so anything we can do to remove one of those problems is really a good idea.
Now, we're not creating the Runestone account for them, are we?
I just created a Runestone account for someone named F2L2. And they can log on with that F2L2 using the password that I put in the spreadsheet that I used. So they took Rook Jove Peas as their password, and F2L2 as their student, their username actually is F2L2MCCE.
Right.
So they'll log in as that using that password, and they'll be in my class.
And
So
then
okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to send all these out to my students. So that's how they'll get an email from me with that information, with just their personal information in it, their username and their password.
so column B, how do you have that?
Thank you for saying that. I very much wanted to talk about column B. Okay, let's look at column B. It's what that basically is my email address. Google does this really cool thing. I didn't know about it until just recently, that you can have these sub email addresses, and my sub email address has my Gmail name, the plus sign, and then whatever I want. Well, what I want is that I want it to match the username here, so that when I get an email from Runestone saying that this, or from this person, wants a password reset, I know who they are. And I
Ah,
can just go in and reset their password, send them back their password, and they'll be back online. And that's a really cool little feature. It works in my spreadsheet because of my little spreadsheet. I am not good with spreadsheets. I know about how to do 7 or 8 things, and beyond that, I don't know. But I know how to do this. I know how to build to write forms that will do this. Well, I gave you that form also. That is my second link down here is to an Excel file. In that Excel file, it looks just the same right here, but when I come up to here, you can see that I'm now speaking the language that the Google Sheets speaks to build that email address. You all can use this, use your own naming scheme for first name and last name. You can use F1L1 if you want. The only thing that I'm going to tell you that you're going to want to change is this, where I put MCCE here. Just go on here and change that to say your school's initials or something like that. And then all these usernames will be kind of connected to your school rather than connected to the MCCE. Take this, go over to this column, put in the name of the course that you created, drag it down so it replaces all the MCCE awesomes, and then save that download it as a CSV file, and that's what you use to create your classes.
Now, can you toggle back over to like B1 in that same spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Do we have to just replace J. Greenewalt with whatever our?
Yes, this only works for Gmail accounts, and you replace Jay Greenewalt with your username. I don't know what would happen if I tried to send this to my CCBOE account.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would go, they have no idea who this email address is. But Gmail, that does work. So this little scheme only works if you actually if you use a Gmail address. So your Gmail address is what you need to be here as opposed to Jay Greenewalt.
And then just leave the other data the way it is, the A1 and the.
Yes, the A1 just references whatever this turned out to be. And this is really just a composite of these 2 fields together with my organization name.
What program do you use to create passwords?
I use this thing called Google. I always forget, and I have to Google it and go look it up. So I can try and give you that information. I've forgotten who it was I got this from, and I'd go Google it again. It's a password creator, and it lets me choose how many words and how long those words can be. And so far, it's done a pretty good job of not putting any obscene words in there. But I would suggest that you check, because you're also putting words next to other words, and sometimes you accidentally say things that you didn't really mean. As far as getting set up with your kids, if you've got your section created and the kids have their accounts, that's all they have to have. But there's one other really huge piece I want to make sure that you see and that you have a chance to work with. And I'm going to tell you, after you work at this, if you want more help, email me. We can get together. I'll be happy to talk to you about it, and we can do a Zoom session or something. Okay. There is something, the next thing I really wanted to talk to you about was the creation of assignments. So I want to assume right now that you have this already loaded, whether you do or not. I want to assume that you do, so I can go on and talk to you about the assignments. Okay? Forgive me. I have a Bluetooth headset that I like to use, and I just realized about a half hour before this thing started that you probably should charge that periodically. So it's charging now, and I have my wired thing in. So
So do you want us to be in our practice or in yours?
Let's see. I want you to be in the class you created, if you've got one that you've created. I'll show you that. I'll give you just a second to go where we are. I think all of you have already done this Teaching CS Awesome Google group, but I don't know if have you all done that? Okay, if you haven't, you really want to make sure that you've done that. It's the key. I put this in, this is the only part I've made up, but it's the key to getting access to the CS Awesome Teacher website, which has all the lesson plans, all the quizzes, all the solutions to the Runestone problems. And when I was telling the stories about the teacher in Iowa who was looking for help, she posted in this forum what her need was. And the only bad side of this is you'll get lots of messages. So set it up as a digest so you get fewer of them perhaps. But it's a really nice thing that if something comes up and you need help, you can just post it to the group and hopefully somebody out there can help you with that. All right, so let's go back over, try to get to the assignments here. There's different ways. There's what I call the manual way of creating assignments, and then there's the copying way of creating assignments. So if I go back into my course, I'm going to go over to the I'm on the instructor page, and from the instructor page, I went to the assignments tab. And in my drop-down list, I have all these assignments that I've already created. In fact, these are the ones that most of you all have done or have seen from the CS Awesome PD. The one I made up is the welcome one. And so I want to go to the welcome one. And the way that I made that up was I clicked add and I typed welcome as the name. I have to move you guys around. I typed welcome as the name, and then I came down here and I just chose whatever readings that I wanted to be a part of that assignment and chose whatever problems I wanted to be a part of that assignment. And how did I choose those? Well, I went over here and expanded this, and I went through and just looked at each one of those things and decided which ones I actually wanted. When I would go to check these things would then be added to that assignment. And that's really all there is to creating assignments, and that's doing those assignments manually. Okay, what I would really like you to see, however, is back on the admin tab.
Now, I hate to interrupt you.
Okay.
When you're in your course, you just have to go to your instructor's page.
Go to your instructor's page. Go to the avatar. And then the instructor's page, and that's what takes you here. And it's kind of its default page it goes to is the admin page.
And it's not necessary to have students in the course before you assign things.
It is not necessary at all. Once a student joins your course, they will get the assignments. So, okay, down here near the bottom on the left-hand side, there's this copy assignments. And over here, there's now in the middle of the page under copy assignments, there's a drop-down menu where you get to select a course. You can select any course you are already an instructor in, which is why I wanted you to join my course so that you could select my course. And what that'll do is copy all those assignments into your course.
Wow.
So just click on.
So for instance, if my La Plata course, because I'm already in MCCE Awesome, so it doesn't show me the copy from it, but it should show up as yours. Another thing is if you have multiple CSA sections, you want to get one of them set up just right and then copy all the assignments in from there.
So we should go ahead and click on copy.
Yep.
Now the course that I just created, the practice one, it's not showing up on the drop-down list.
Right. Are you in the practice one that you created? Like right now, I'm in MCCE Awesome, so I can't copy from it. I can't copy, I'm already in it. Does that make sense?
I am in my practice one.
So if you're in your practice one, you can't copy from it. But in your practice one, you should see the MCCE Awesome.
I do.
Okay, if you click that one, select all.
Yep.
And click copy, you get all those assignments.
Now to see the assignments, I just have to switch courses and go back into.
No, you're still in you're in the right course now. You don't have to switch courses, but you do have to switch tabs. Go to the assignments tab. And if you click the drop down arrow now, you should see all those assignments.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Very cool.
Hey, Joe, this is Bill.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Joe, can you see if I'm there now? This is Bill.
Yes, you are.
Awesome. That way I can see these assignments too. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that you could do this early in the summer. And I said, there's got to be a way. And I got to, Brad Miller was doing a presentation for SISTE. It was virtual, but he was doing it there and he explained that. And I went, oh, yeah, that's about 1,000 times better.
Now, as you go through your year and you want to, I mean, you don't create your assignments for the whole year at the beginning, do you?
That's correct. You don't need to create them all. What you might well want to do is to go through and create these larger just scale assignments for right now, but just not make them all visible. You can also choose that. You can decide, whether you want to make the assignments visible yet or not. The other thing is, one of the things I did a lot of work. There's a thing called Coding that I love as an instructor. And I have done hours and hours of work for my classes. But the problem was there was no way for me to share this with anybody else. And the folks at Runestone built this in so that you can share this with if a colleague wants to use CS Awesome and would love to use your work, you say, I'll tell you what, why don't we work together and you can make up some of these and I'll make up some of these and we can copy from one another. So make me an instructor in your class and I'll make you an instructor in my class and we can copy from these things from one another. Okay, well, I'm hoping that those were my biggest single things for you were about getting your kids registered and getting the assignments created. There's another important step in the assignments, and that's scheduling the assignments. So I'm gonna go back to my assignments page and say on my welcome, I have my due date down here. You want to put these in the order chronologically that you want the kids to do them. You can change this at any time. I can change this right now, but you want to do this. You want to do this chronologically sometime after the start of the class when this first assignment would be done. You also, while I'm here, have the option of checking this little box and turning any assignment into a quiz. And all you do is say, all right, I'm only going to give you 15 minutes on this. And now when that assignment pops up, the students will have to take it, but they'll only have 15 minutes to do it. And you created a quiz for them. I'm going to uncheck that because I'm not making that as a quiz right now. But I do want to point out that back at the avatar, what your students should do. I've had people using Runestone for years, and I never realized how important this was. Your kids should come in, go to their avatar, and click the Assignments tab. When they do that, they get this list of assignments. Now, I made them all visible, which is why you're seeing them all. You make whichever ones that you want, but your student comes in, logs in, clicks the avatar, clicks welcome, and the computer goes and fetches all of their assignments, their readings, their problems. They're all fetched right here, and they can do them all right here. So I can say, okay, and so the student goes, well, I need to read this. So they go to read this, and they click on that, and they get their reading done. So they do their reading. When they get to the bottom of the page, there's a place for them to mark the page as complete. You see here, I marked these 3 pages as completed, but I didn't mark this second one as completed. The students really should go down at the end after they've managed to fight their way all the way through this page. They should get down to the end and mark it as completed. I want you to notice this page is not completed because I did none of the work. The only work I've done on this page is I loaded the page and it gave me credit for loading it. I've done literally nothing else. I can still mark it as completed. So you don't want to give the kids any credit for the marking it as completed. Like you get points for this because they'll just go through and click complete, 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 and they're done. And they haven't literally done anything on the page. This is really something for them to keep track of what they've done, but I want to show you a little bit later that piece as well. So your kids come in, the reason that you want to have these assignments is because that's how they know where their work is. They go in and do today's work. When you're done with that unit, you make that not visible anymore. Okay. Once the students have done some work, then it's the time you want to use this ability to track the student work. On this slide, I have Brad Miller's doing the talking, and he's explaining all of this, and he's certainly better at it than I am. I wanted to point out, this is from the section that we did this summer, one of the sections we did this summer. And I can tell at a glance that, hey, these problems, we're doing pretty well on all these problems except for that one. So before my next session, I'm going to address that problem. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to click on the name of it so I can see that problem and discuss that specific element with my students. So how do I see all that? Well, again, going back to Runestone, and see, I'm going to go back, hit the back arrow to go back to my instructor page. I think it'll take me there if I just persist long enough. It would have been faster to go through the avatar. Anyway, so I go back to admin. Oh no, I'm sorry, I go to student progress tab. And now, my students F2, L2, and F3, L3 and such, they haven't done any work yet. So there's nothing showing over here. So I don't have any of these things. They're all grayed out, showing that these 4 students that I've registered in here, that they're delinquent, that none of them are getting their work done. But in theory, I would just come down here and I could look and see, well, this is what I assigned them to do. Which ones did they get done? Which ones didn't they get done? Which ones did they get done? Did they try? You know, where did they get stuck? I get all that insight just from those little graphics down here. And that's a really powerful thing as an instructor. Then when it comes time for grading the assignments, well, the grading the assignments, I'm going to go over, I'm back in my instructor tab. I'm going to go to the grading tab. And I say, well, grade what assignments? Well, I'm going to grade that welcome assignment. And that's down here. And I'm going to pick which student I want to grade. I'm going to grade this Joe Greenewalt guy. So I click that auto grade button. It auto grades for me. 11 of those items were just scored. It reports where Joe Greenewalt got his points. And I'm not seeing anything here, nor will my student, Joe Greenewalt, because, oh, I'm sorry, try that again. I won't see it unless I actually release those grades. So I can choose as a teacher that I want to, whether I want to show those things or not to my students. If I go back over to my admin tab, oh, forgive me, go back to my admin tab, and I go to my gradebook. I can see all of my students. I'm a little disappointed with Joe's grade, so I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to click this little link here, and I'll see again all of the activities that I had assigned to him. And I can look and see, okay, well, he's not getting any of these readings done. And I can look over here and see, well, wait a minute, what is about this challenge problem? He got a 0 on that. So what's going on there? So I just clicked that, and there's his page. There's Joe's work. And Joe was trying to get this thing done. This is the one, remember, we're figuring out the average. And if you remember, there's a casting issue that if you, Java will you integer division if you divide an int by an int. And in this case, I want double division, so I need to cast something as a double first. So I could go down here and I could give Joe a point. If I wanted to give Joe a point, I could give Joe a comment like, I don't know, remember to cast before you divide. And save that. And now that little green like there will, oh, I misspelled remember. Anyway, that little green thing will shows that this has been recorded in the database. If I come up here, it won't show it yet. It shows it still as a 0. If I refresh the page, now Joe's got that point. And if I come back to my gradebook, oh, I'm a little disappointed. I thought that was going to help my grade. Oh, well, maybe it hasn't had a chance to populate through there yet. While I'm in the gradebook, you notice that there's a few columns here. There's all these other assignments. They're all scrolling off on the right-hand edge of the screen. I can choose just by doing letters here of what exactly I want to see. But if I want to see them all, I click on the download gradebook. Download gradebook. All of this information for every one of my assignments has been loaded into this CSV file, which I can open and see every student's grade on every assignment.
Now, when you had talked about students just going through and clicking complete, but not doing any of the work,
right?
Is that going to show up in the gradebook where they just haven't done anything?
No, they'll still have zeros. The way they'll get the points is by interacting with the activities that are on the page. And there's a threshold level built in, I believe it's to the CS Awesome, which is I think at an 80% level. So they have to get 80% of the activities done before they get credit for the page. Okay, we're getting real close to the end, and I have only gotten halfway into this presentation. There's a lot more here that I'd love to talk with you about, but what you just mentioned, inside of Runestone, there's two hugely important tools that we haven't used. One's called the practice tool and one called hypothesis. The practice tool, I think, is one of the most important reasons to use Runestone. What the practice tool does is it cures forgetting. Your students will go do all this work and then get a bad grade on the AP exam because of all the stuff they've forgotten. The practice tool is it's a research project out of the University of Michigan. Barb Erickson and Paul Resnick are the leaders of it. Imran, and I have a hard time saying Imran's last name, the developers of it, but they built into Runestone this capability of using this artificial intelligence that watches what the kids do, watches what the date is, collects practice problems for them, predicts when they're going to forget, and makes them practice stuff before they forget it. The performance of that is just remarkable. The top line here is a super sophisticated system used at the University of Michigan with thousands of students to check to help them keep from forgetting. This is the practice tool built into Runestone. Human nature being human nature, when do kids get online? When do college students get online and get all their work done? Oh, a couple days before the test, a couple days before the midterm, a couple days before the final. Does that work? No. What does work, demonstrably does work, is what is done in this practice tool. And this practice tool says the Runestone kids, they get online and do this all semester long, all year long. They're going on and doing the practice. Why? Because it's part of their grade. They get points for it. And they get points, and you put a deadline on it, and they have to do their reviews all throughout the course rather than waiting until it's too late and they do these all-nighters and don't learn anything. How important is that? There's two graphs on this page. The top left is a graph of student performance and use of the practice tool. Correlation coefficient of 1.0. Just about every hour of practice time improved a student's grade by 1%. Same study, same sort of study done for students who are using their textbook hours shows a virtually zero correlation. The number of hours spent looking at a textbook has no positive impact on the exam. What does have positive impact on the exam? Practice. And that's practice tool schedules and gets that practice done. Well, I really would love to talk with you a lot more about that. But what I do want to close with is this plan for the fall. We're planning on having monthly sessions. Diane O'Grady-Cuniff and I just met about this, and we're planning these monthly sessions. In the summer, we reviewed the content of the first 6 units in the CS Awesome and the College Board's units. We still have to do units 7, 8, 9, and 10, which we're planning on doing in November through February. In September and October, I want to make sure you have a chance to I want to make sure everybody, not only just us that are here today, but hopefully others who join us, to make sure we're all together, everything is working, that we're using quizzes properly that are built into CS Awesome. In the October meeting, we're going to use this practice tool and the College Board resources and make sure we know that we're using those properly optimally and our students benefit. And then in November, we'll pick up with additional tools. Diane called it mixing it up, some tools that would be nice to add to this process, but also addressing the array lists and inheritance and two-dimensional arrays and recursion. So that's my final commercial for where we're going to be headed from here. And I think I've also just passed our 5 o'clock hour. So at the end of all of that, what you need to do is get the list of who your students are so that you can build that spreadsheet and get your students registered for the class. And you need to let me know. If I can be of help to you, please let me know. And I hope to see you. And if Joelle wouldn't mind, I'm willing to stay online. If you guys have any questions or things you just want to discuss, I can just say we can stay here for a while. Hopefully I will see you in September.